Hello, it's Jeannie and
Zane.
Zane. Listen to that beautiful voice. This is my husband, and I'm so happy to introduce him to you. I know you've seen pictures of him in various videos, but today this video is going to be with Zane. So I first want to start off by thanking Paired for sponsoring this video. Paired is an app that we have downloaded on both our phones, and it is a way to improve communication, stay connected, ask each other questions, and engage in meaningful conversation. And it's something I think we both recommend for anyone in a relationship, and we've been having a lot of fun with this. So, just today, I took a quiz, and he took a quiz. I answered how I would answer for my questions, and then I answered for how I thought he would answer. So I am waiting to see the results of who, let me show you this, who won this quiz. And it is Zane. Out of 5 questions, you got how many right?
3.
And I got 2. So, anyway, here are the questions. Go ahead and read the first one.
How does your partner feel when receiving compliments?
And I need my glasses too. I answered about Zane. I said he'd feel like $1 million, and he answered that I'd be pleased. And they're the exact opposite. So that's interesting. What does your partner most like to be complimented on? My answer about Zane was personality, and Zane's answer about me was achievement or skills, and they're exactly the opposite. So 2 down. The third one, honey.
What does your partner feel least like to be complimented on?
And you answered,
Physical features or body.
and I answered him, outfits. And we were right. We scored on that one, right? Yeah, we got that one right. And then, how good is your partner at regularly giving compliments? And I put for Zane, amazing. And he put for me,
Good.
and he got that right, and I got it wrong. I think he's amazing at compliments. You're always complimenting me, aren't you?
I am, but I wasn't sure amazing was quite I thought maybe that was over the top for me.
No.
But
which compliment would your partner give you right now? For me, I said about Zane, you're so smart. And he said, for me,
you're so kind.
and we got those right. So, but he got 3 right, and I got 2 right. So, anyway, we are having a lot of fun with this app, and we both recommend it, don't you think?
It's a lot of fun. It opens up dialogue in a fun sort of way.
Paired is a fun way to really care for your relationship and keep fun communication open. And strong communication is key for a relationship. Okay, so I have a question that has been spurred by Paired. Which of my abilities or skills are you most grateful for?
Your brain power.
My brain power. Okay. And I would say for you, it is how unflappable you are. You stay calm in the storms, and you are the North Star, not only for me, but for so many people. So I guess that comes with being a career pilot, and you've got hundreds of lives behind you.
Yeah, I think so.
And staying calm is key.
It is. If you don't stay calm and you panic, then everybody is doomed.
And if I were in charge of that plane, if I were the pilot, what would happen? It's true.
I don't know about that.
Yes, we're gonna die. So, click on the link in the description box as well as the pinned comment to get 25% off the premium subscription to Paired. That's what we're using. And what's really cool about this too is I can send him a message. It's kind of like a text message, but we don't have to be next to each other to be playing this. So we're having a lot of fun just sending each other quizzes, sending each other little, kind thoughts.
And reminders that we're thinking about each other.
Yes.
In good ways.
In good ways. Absolutely. So, anyway, now I just want to thank Paired for sponsoring this video and supporting my channel, and I hope you all check this out. Again, click on their link in the description box below or in the pinned comment, and I look forward to hearing what you think about this too. So now we are going to get into the main part of the video with, again, my husband, Zane, here joining us. Whoops. And we're not going to get into a full, in-depth story of his life interview, but what we are going to talk about is coming up in an anniversary of Mount Saint Helens blowing up. And that was when was it?
May 18, 1980.
May 18th, 1980. Okay. So tell us about your part in this and what you were doing and your involvement in this.
Well, I had taken a job teaching flying in Troutdale, Oregon, which is just east of Portland. And we did charter flying with jets and small airplanes, big airplanes, and we had a contract with the U.S. Geological Survey, the U.S. Forest Service, and I also did flight instructing, teaching students how to fly. So this particular morning, I got up early with a student and was teaching her how to do steep turns and different maneuvers in preparation for her commercial pilot's check ride. So I found myself north of Vancouver, Washington, which is north of Portland, on the Washington side, and we were flying just between Vancouver and Mount Saint Helens on the morning of May 18, 1980, teaching her to fly.
And that's the day it blew. Now, you knew, or the experts suspected that it was going to blow, correct?
That's correct. Through all of the flights that I had conducted many months before and weeks before, Mount Saint Helens was the jewel of the Cascade Range. It had been dormant for a long time, but it had such symmetry, and every winter was covered with this pure white snow and was just beautiful. One time in, I believe, March sometime of 1980, flying over it, we'd noticed some black soot and some smoke rising from the top of what was this very dormant but beautiful mountain. And it raised the alarm that, maybe the sleeping giant is coming alive.
So you saw that?
We saw that many times because we flew right over Mount St. Helens on our arrivals and departures in and out of Portland and Troutdale. So that raised the alarm bells. Of course, the U.S. Geological Survey, organizations that were monitoring seismic activity were very much interested in what was happening around Mount St. Helens. And in fact, there was multiple seismic events that occurred prior to the eruption on May 18. And we were a big part of alerting them to this activity just by visual sighting of the soot and the smoke that was coming from the top of the mountain.
So is this what it looked like?
That's what it looked like.
I'm going to show you this. I'll insert a photo here, but I'll give you a quick look as well. And just as an aside, we have newspapers and these books from this time, and so we've carried this from house to house and town to town, all these newspapers and whatnot. Okay, so you're a flight instructor at this particular time, and you're heading back, and you've got a student with you who's studying for her commercial license, and this is the morning it blew. So now, prior to this, they knew it was going to, so they evacuated the area. I remember the evacuations.
The anticipation of the seismic activity and possible eruption of the mountain alerted everyone to the dangers that would happen. This was a very popular area for camping and hiking, and it was a beautiful, beautiful area for recreational use, and thousands of people would enter the area. But this alerted the Forest Service and the park personnel that we needed to evacuate these people because no one knew exactly when it might erupt. And so they established a red zone in the area that basically was a boundary that people were not supposed to cross to stay away from potential danger in case the mountain erupted.
So they told people to get out, and not everyone did, and even Johnson didn't get far enough away. So go ahead and explain that evacuation process.
Well, the evacuation process had started prior to the eruption of May 18, but some people didn't heed the warning. Scientists, of course, were placed north of the mountain to measure the seismic activity, take many, many photographs of the changes that were happening geologically to the mountain. And of course, the morning that the mountain erupted, some of these people perished because no one really expected the eruption to be as massive as what it was. And so the people that chose not to evacuate were pretty much buried in the mountain. Now, I think the record shows that 75 people lost their lives officially. Many others were displaced from their homes down along the Toutle River and north of the mountain, of course. But it was at some people's peril that they didn't evacuate. Their curiosity got the best of them.
Okay, so now you're flying back after your time with the student. You're heading back, and tell us what happened. What did you see? What did you feel? Tell us about that explosion.
Well, flying north of Vancouver on an early morning flight, we were doing steep turns and different maneuvers, and coming around from one of the turns, the explosion met our windshield and was just in awe and shock at what we were seeing, this eruption. We could not only hear, but as we came around and could see the massive amount of earth and molten rock and ash that was being hewn from the mountain up to 30,000 and higher, 30,000 feet and higher. So we immediately realized that we should head back to the airport, and we called the tower and told him what we had seen. Of course, he had seen it as well, and exclaimed that the barometric pressure had dropped 1 inch when the mountain erupted. It basically sucked up the atmosphere in the local area for a few seconds as it erupted.
Did you feel that?
Well, no, I didn't really feel it. No, no, I don't think so.
And did it affect your airplane at all?
No, it didn't really affect the airplane.
What were you flying? Do you remember?
Oh, it was probably a Cessna 172 or something.
That's a good starter plane for someone, huh?
Yeah. So we immediately flew back to Troutdale, and the U.S. Forest Service, the Bureau of Land Management, different governmental organizations had anticipated this would happen. So they established a command center at the Pearson Air Park, which is just north of Portland International Airport across the Columbia River. So by about 1 o'clock that afternoon, we had assembled all of our airplanes at Pearson Air Park and were told what the plan was in terms of recovery, search and rescue, and survey work to see what exactly had happened. The destruction was so massive geologically that it changed the geography of the mountain to where helicopters going in trying to conduct search and rescue were having a difficult time determining where different objects might be that they were looking for because things had changed so dramatically. So we flew above the mountain and were trying to get a perspective of where they should be looking. And so there was a lot of communication taking place between our aircraft and search and rescue helicopter personnel.
How long would you survey the mountain? How long were you, on duty to watch the mountain?
That first day, the 18th, we were pretty well on duty by about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, doing orbits around the mountain and doing search and rescue efforts. And the mountain was still casting tremendous volumes of ash and earth into the air, even as late as 3 in the afternoon, and lightning bolts due to the friction of the particle coming out of the mountain. It was just incredibly impressive to witness. But it continued for quite a number of hours, not just the first eruption. So
there was one big blast and then just spewing. Were there any more big blasts, or was that the one and only?
Well, no, there were others. What happened is it blew, and most of the north side and the northeast side of the mountain, I think about 1,200, 1,300 feet of elevation of the mountain was completely blown away. But all of the soil, all the gases and so forth were continuing to erupt out of the mountain. So as that happened, the magma would push its way from underneath the mountain and come up through those vents in the middle of the mountain and create what they called a dome, basically a hot, molten lava kind of consistency, and it just would build and build and build. So they were concerned about eruptions occurring again. So we were tasked with flying around the mountain 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for probably about, it was a month or 2 months. Now, they finally pared it back to where we would only fly during the day and then we'd be on call at night. So we were sleeping in our Nomax suits and sleeping on cots in the bottom of the tower in the middle of the night. And occasionally someone would call downwind and say, it smells like rotten eggs. I think the mountain's erupting again. Of course, it's nighttime. Nobody knew.
So how many people were doing this? Do you know how many shifts?
We had a crew of probably 4 of us, and with the Forest Service, you're restricted to 7 hours a day, in terms of flying. So we would split it into 3.5 hour shifts. So we would go up and fly for 3.5 hours, and then the next crew would take off and meet us up at the mountain, and then we would head back and land, and we'd be on break, and then we'd go up for another 3.5 hours. So it was kind of a rotation schedule, and we generally had 1 or 2 observers in the back of the airplane that had night vision goggles, viewing devices that could see through the weather. We flew around the mountain whether it was raining or it didn't matter if it was cloudy and rainy. We had a holding pattern around the mountain, above the mountain. They could see through the glasses to look at the dome and see if it had erupted again or if it was still building or what the status would be, to calm people's fears at the time.
And you mentioned, 7-hour shifts, and I was going to ask, because I'm sure I'm not the only one wondering, it's like bathroom breaks, but so you came down at 3.5, so you can hold it for 3.5 hours, go before.
Pretty much, yeah. Okay. Some people that might not have that capability would maybe take a little portable device with them and to help that problem, but yeah.
We had an incident, total aside story, but remember we were driving in Oregon, and I had to go, and I couldn't wait until the next town, and it was like, how long till the next town? 30 minutes. I'm not going to make it 30 minutes, and we stopped, and I trotted out into the woods. Little did I know, it was all volcanic ash. And my feet were sinking in. And anyway, needless to say, I came back an ashy mess.
The portable toilet didn't work very well for you.
So, okay.
Well, that ash was incredible.
Yeah.
In that it spread for hundreds and thousands of miles.
Yeah. Now, one of the scientists, Johnson, and we've been to the Mount Saint Helens Johnson Center, and I might be saying that incorrectly, but it's something like that, and it's fascinating, and he thought he was back far enough, and it blew and just wiped him out, and he was one of the last scientists in the area to be reporting and eyes on the mountain. And when it blew, and I'm going to show you some pictures, it took the forest and laid it down like a bunch of matchsticks, and we've seen this, and it's still that way today. And so if you're up in that Mount Saint Helens area and you've been up there, you know what I'm talking about. It's just like somebody went, whew. And I mean, I'm looking at this.
That was probably one thing that was impressive to me, was the power of the wave that hit. Just laid like matchsticks, like you said, even on the back sides of the hills.
Right.
Just blew them over all in a row like matchsticks. Just the sheer power of the wave that hit the forest was just a demonstration of incredible power. Much of the land, forest land, was owned and logged by Weyerhaeuser, and they had a lot of heavy equipment up in the area, so these big heavy caterpillars and different machinery were up there, and they were just rolled around like toys down at the bottom of the canyon.
And I know it's been a while since we've been up to that area, but are they doing anything with all that wood that blew, or are they just leaving it to have nature take care of it? That's going to be centuries before that's broken down.
Yeah.
Meow. Leo wants to join us. You can come here, Leo. So, okay, so then for how long did you circle the mountain before things got reduced?
We were flying around the mountain 24 hours a day for probably the first 2 to 3 weeks. And then they made it to where we only flew during the daytime, but we're on call at night. And then it was just on call. And that was probably for 2.5 months until things kind of subsided and they had a pretty good handle on the potential for future eruptions. And in fact, it did erupt at least a couple more times. Not nearly the force that the first one did, but it did build up pressure under that dome and then erupt.
Did you continue to teach during that time, or did you have to tell your students time out?
No, I did teaching. Yeah.
So you did surveying and teaching.
Yeah, a lot of surveying, a lot of different kind of flying, but yeah.
So as you were going around the mountain with you had a co-pilot and a couple of observers who could watch, what is it that you were seeing besides the venting? What did you see? What did it look like?
Well, the mountain eventually calmed down and wasn't venting anymore, or very little. So it was mostly just a view of the incredible destruction that was cast upon the whole forest, river, and the mountain. It was a complete desert, brown, barren mess caused by the eruption. The trees were brown and gray and laying flat, and we flew real low level over looking for various things. We actually found a pickup camper that was there, and there were people still in the camper that had suffocated to death because they refused to leave. The amount of gases and volume of soot and debris and so forth in the air, they basically suffocated.
Would it have been instant, or they didn't suffer, did they?
Well, I don't know. They probably did suffer when it hit. It probably was an incredible shock, but that's why people were told to leave.
Yeah.
But some people didn't understand the possibility of how large and massive this eruption would be and how destructive it would be. So
no one knew.
Well, no one really knew for sure. You can't totally understand what Mother Nature has got in store for you. So that was kind of spooky, flying over and finding the results of lost life that showed itself after the mountain erupted. A number of pieces of equipment that were left behind, and Spirit Lake was completely covered in ash and floating trees. You couldn't even tell that there was water there because everything on the surface had been filled up by trees and debris.
Wow. And what was the name of that one old feller who refused to leave? Like a president's name, Harry Truman.
Harry Truman, yeah. He'd been there running a resort and been there for a long time, and he refused to leave, saying that, there was really no danger and it couldn't possibly amount to much. And so in his refusal to leave, he perished quite dramatically at his lodge in Spirit Lake. And it took months and years for that lake to finally clear up and reemerge as a beautiful lake. Even now, though, the area has changed dramatically. It's been 43 years since it erupted, and there's basically still just very barren ground in much of that area. It takes years for forest to repopulate itself. So,
were you able at any point, had the smoke cleared enough that you could look down into the crater?
Oh, yeah.
What did that look like?
Well, it was a big crater with a big dome of magma in the middle, and you could see it building up just a dome of kind of lava, and at nighttime you could see the kind of the glow and the heat coming from it. It was steaming most of the time, and you could see the changes over the weeks, how it would change due to the pressures underneath of it, causing that dome to grow. And so that was easily observable. Most of the area around the mountain was off limits to airplanes and people wandering up in the area with four-wheel drive vehicles or what have you. And part of our responsibility flying up there was to keep track of any intruders that might fly into the area. Other airplanes would fly into the area, and of course everybody was very curious about what had happened, and pilots would want to come into the area and fly over the mountain and observe it and see what happened. But it was considered a restricted area at the time, so...
What did you do? Get away from
we were tasked with trying to chase some of these intruders, and basically we wouldn't chase them off, but the FAA wanted us to try to get their N numbers, and then we were supposed to report their N numbers, and then the FAA would follow up and find out who that N number belonged to, and either warn them or give them a fine for flying into a prohibited area. And the concern was basically if you get too many sightseeing airplanes flying around, the potential for mid-air collisions might be a problem, or interference with the search and rescue efforts,
Right.
So.
And where was your family at this time? You had your mom and dad and your two sisters. Weren't they in the area?
No, my sisters were in school and in
college.
Eastern Washington, and
Right.
my parents were in Montana, Kalispell, Montana.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what would you say your biggest takeaway memory was from this time?
Well, I think the memory and the reflection is the sheer power of Mother Nature, the sheer power of this volcano. I don't remember how it measures up. It's not one of the biggest volcanic eruptions that's ever happened, but it's probably, impressive to most simply because of where it happened and when it happened. It is probably in, the top 15 or 20 in terms of size of eruptions. But the sheer power and magnitude of it was just incredible. The witnessing of this power and this force of Mother Nature that took place was just overwhelming. It was amazing how many news media agencies from all over the world came to our airport wanting to get a charter flight to go up and see the mountain. And we accommodated a number of hundreds of news agencies and flew them up over the mountain, and they'd take their pictures and get their news stories from the mountain. But it created a tremendous amount of interest all over the world. People were fascinated with this cataclysmic event that had happened in this beautiful area that had been noted for beautiful camping and hiking and snow-covered peak. And when it came alive, it got everyone's attention.
So let me ask you this. In your 40, how many years have you been flying? 50 some odd years?
50 years, 52.
Have you ever experienced anything at this level, catastrophic, or, that with that kind of awesome,
No.
So that was the...
I don't think so. I've seen some fabulous solar eclipses, which are amazing.
You've seen, and you've shown me lots of pictures of the Aurora Borealis.
Yeah,
you flew through those a lot.
Those are very impressive, very amazing. But Mount Saint Helens eruption was a lifetime event that very few would be able to actually say they witnessed a volcanic eruption of this level in their lifetime.
I'd like to hear from you guys if you're older and you were anywhere in the Pacific Northwest when this happened, or if it was your parents or grandparents. So let me know about that in the comments. I'd love to hear about that.
I can remember weeks and even months after flying to airports that were considerably to the east, Lewistown, Montana, Lewiston, Idaho, Missoula, some of the areas that were impacted by the ash. And you'd land and the ash had settled on the runway and was just a dust bowl,
Yeah.
And Wenatchee, Yakima, they were shoveling ash like it was snow.
Were you breathing it?
Oh yeah.
Did you wear masks?
No, I never was wearing a mask particularly, but I'm sure the people in Wenatchee and Yakima that were shoveling it off the rooftops definitely were.
Right. So we're going to wrap this up. Maybe we'll do another video in the future about all your UFO sightings.
Yeah.
Do we get asked that a lot, or what?
You'd probably be more interested in the chemtrails that I create.
Oh, the chemtrail button, right? Yeah, the chemtrail button. And you get bonuses. I joke that he gets bonuses if he can hit it over the populated towns. No, we're kidding. And just for the record, what do people perceive as chemtrails? What are they in scientific terms? A result of?
Vapor.
In colder temperatures?
Yes.
Okay. Which brings me to this. If you guys have questions of Captain Zane, not related to Mount Saint Helens, that's what this was about, given that we're coming up on the anniversary, but just other pilot questions, let me know in the comments. And maybe what I'll do is compile a top 20 list of the most common questions. You are asked a lot about UFOs, and so am I. Has your husband seen UFOs? Just me. But what are your questions that you would love to hear from not only a pilot, but a captain of a 787. That's what he retired on, was the Dreamliner, and spent his whole career flying. So you've seen just about everything. We've been just about everywhere. And so if you've got questions, let us know.
Excellent.
Yeah. So thank you. I know this wasn't ASMR completely, but this could be one of those videos that you just put on and let it go blah, blah, blah with the information and fall asleep to, or come back and listen to it. Not that you're boring. No.
It's supposed to be boring, I thought.
Well,
Mount Saint Helens was not boring.
No, it was not boring. It was tragic and, cataclysmic and catastrophic. So I just wanted to share a real person who was there, who witnessed it and who monitored it, and has I think, a really interesting story to tell about it. So we're going to sign off for now and go feed the cats who are circling like sharks. And I just want to thank you for tuning in and listening to Captain Zane. So, what do you say, honey? Say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye. Thank you.
We will... Lights are going on and off out there. So we will see you very soon in the next video. I bid you peace, I bid you wellness, and we bid you love. Bye for now.